You know, the last couple days have been kind of rough. Let me tell you a story about one of our good friends, one of our farm animals that's been a big part of this farm for a while. You know, not all stories are happy. And this story takes a little bit. What are you doing, Ruger? You can't get out right now. Special friend, T-Bone. He's been a big part of this farm. And he and I have been good friends for quite some time. But we had to make a hard decision the other day. You see, we know T-Bone has been getting bigger. His hormones have been kicking in. You've probably seen videos where T-Bone has pushed me against the fence, lifted me up, lifted my wife up. Honeybee, calm down. I know it's your first day out in the big yard, but you're fine. She's running around looking for Mabel. I let them out for the first time. And we'll get to why that happened too. But anyways, T-Bone has been going through some changes. He's been getting a bit more aggressive, testing his boundaries, pushing me around, playing a little rough. And I, thought it was fun and games. I posted some video about it being fun and games. But the other day, hey, good bite. The other day, T-Bone had a little baby. Cutest little baby. I mean, he didn't. He's the dad. I guess Rosie had the cute little baby. Hey, you, stop it. But I don't know what happened. T-Bone was going a little crazy, running around, really playful. And we had to leave. We had to get to an event. So we left quite early. And our neighbors called and said T-Bone had jumped the fence. I'm like, well, that's kind of stupid. So, like, do you mind if he stays there? We'll get him as soon as we get home. They're like, no worries. Well, the neighbor boy, he's like 18. Mom sends a picture, and he's all scratched up and said T-Bone had pushed him against the tree. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like T-Bone. I mean, he plays a little rough with me sometimes, but he's never been mean to anyone else. So we got home from the event, and I told my wife, I'm just going to go open the gate. I'll get some food, and I'll coax him back over. My wife jumped the gun, and she grabbed a rope halter, and she went to go get T-Bone. Hey, stop. And next thing I know, I heard screaming. So I ran over as quick as I could. Now she's at the neighbors, so it took me a couple minutes to get there. I only heard a couple screams. When I got there, my wife was covered in dirt, and she's hanging from their wall. She had climbed up the barn wall, holding onto like a pole, and T-Bone was underneath it. Now, obviously, I lost my temper, and I was going to hurt T-Bone. My wife's like, leave him alone, leave him alone. And I took him back home. He just followed me home. And then my wife hobbled home, pretty hurt. Probably going to need surgery on her knee, I would have to guess. I'm guessing it's the outside, front, and back of her knee, so probably LCL and lateral meniscus, which I told her, and then we finally got her to a doctor, and they said probably the same thing. Of course, they had to send her for an MRI, which I told her that would have to happen too, so who knows how long this process will take. That's another story I don't want to get into. But I started researching to see what T-Bone would be worth, because, we have people here at the farm all the time, and I don't want my wife hurt. And I also forgot to mention that T-Bone and I got into a little ruckus later that day. Now, it's partly my fault because I was already angry at him. But he was acting a little strange at the trailer. Maybe it's because I loaned the trailer to someone to move a cow the other day, and maybe he could smell her pheromones. I don't know what it was. But he was a little pushy, and I kind of fought back, and he won. And he actually had lifted me up, stepped on my foot, knocked my shoe off, carried me from the back of the trailer to where my truck is, knocked me on the ground, and I covered my head thinking, oh goodness, he's going to jump on me. But then he just stopped. He saw my wife and he just stopped. So at that point I realized, all right, T-Bone's got to go. We have a lot of people at the farm. I couldn't have him risk hurting a little kid, hurting my wife. So I got online, looked at what he was worth, and ChatGPT first said, we'd do okay, get a good amount for him. But then I told ChatGPT that he had been a little bit rough with me lately, and they're like, well, that changes things. So I started looking at what the beef prices would be for him, and since he's an intact bull, who I have to give full disclosure and say he was a little aggressive lately, brought his value way down. So I called someone that was going to take him to a local livestock auction, and I was prepared to get the bare minimum for him. And I told my wife, look, we have 24 hours if you can find him a home. So she got on Facebook and posted him, and before we knew it, we found someone who wanted to use him for breeding with all their miniature cows. So that was good. We didn't get as much as we had hoped, but at least he was going to have a happy life. So, and you know that kind of makes me a little sad, because we bottle fed T-Bone. He was our first cow, or I guess rather a bull. And he's been a big part of this farm. And, you know, he also drives a lot of our YouTube traffic. And so that was another thing, hard to get rid of T-Bone for that very reason. But, you know, we had to make a decision. Is it really fair to keep T-Bone locked up in a small pen just so I can get more YouTube views? Eventually, you know, we were going to open up another 5-acre field, but the county hasn't really come through helping us get the rock we needed to make the low water crossing over the stream. So, you know, it's taken us longer to get that field developed than we thought. And so I guess it was just time to give T-Bone a new home. So we got some video of him being loaded up and taken away. Hopefully he'll be happy. You know, and this all comes on the heel of, we have another special little animal that we've gotten some bad news about. And sometime tonight, we have to sit down and have another talk about what's best for that animal. Even though we both really love him a lot, sometimes you gotta decide what's best. Is it best for you or best for the animal? And so that's a rough decision that we're gonna have to make tonight. And I'll share another video about that later. But it's sad. T-Bone, you know, and that was one of the first books my wife wrote, T-Bone's Big Little Life. You can find that on Amazon. He's been a big part of this farm, and now hopefully he'll be a big part of someone else's farm, and hopefully he'll be happy. At least he didn't go to the auction house. They said he's gonna be happy, surrounded by a bunch of female cows, probably living his best life, so I guess it's good for him. But I do hate to see him go. I know my wife was shedding some tears yesterday, and you know what? I'm a little sad too. And so my wife was a little mad at me because I was a little standoffish and upset yesterday. And I guess women don't understand that guys can process some feelings about animals as well. I mean, yeah, he and I had some fights from time to time, but men, they can fight and shake it off and be buddies the next day or even an hour later. And that's the kind of relationship T-Bone and I had. And, well, now I won't see him anymore. But I still got plenty of other animals like Remy here. So, just wanted to share that information, that news about T-Bone. Hate to see him go. You'll probably miss him too. But who knows? And we have a new little baby. We named her Ginger Snap. She's cute. You'll see pictures of her in this too. But this is Hartland Oaks signing out. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.